Welcome to
Demonstration.
Love, Sex, and Marriage. And today, it's an emergency.
It's an emergency. Yes.
Yes.
Now, the purpose of these videos will always be to help people, hey, BL, hey, Dorothea. Purpose of these videos, I think Chris is on too, hey, Chris, will be to help people get in or stay married.
Right.
So tonight we come to you letting you know that it is an emergency.
Yes.
And what is the emergency? The emergency is the order of importance in which you place your marriage and in which you place in your values. So, the reason why we started these videos
is to help people get and stay married.
Yes, so that's our purpose. Our purpose will be to help you, not people, to help you get married and to help you stay married when you get married.
Right.
Or if you are married, to help you stay married.
Right.
You got to understand that that is our purpose, and that is an emergency.
It is.
It's an emergency. Your entire trajectory and your entire destiny is affected by whether or not you get married. You not getting married is not just going to affect you and your spouse. It's going to affect the people that you are never going to meet.
Right.
It is an emergency.
In your lineage.
Yes. Now, there are different levels to importance. Number one, there is important. Number two, there is somewhat important. Number three, there is very important. And number four, there are emergencies.
Yes.
So, number one, being important means, for instance, if my son's teacher calls me to let me know that he scraped his knee while he was on the playground.
Right.
He's okay. That phone call was an important phone call because it came from his teacher.
Right.
Right? But level two is somewhat, or that was somewhat important. Now, or no, that was important. Now, somewhat important is if she says that, he scraped his knee, and not only did he scrape his knee, but he got a bruise, and his mom already came to pick him up. She just wanted to let me know as well. Now, that's somewhat important because now, first of all, it came from his teacher, so I needed to know that. And second of all, I know that he's safe because he's now with my wife. Mm-hmm. So you see, that's somewhat important. Very important. And call, of course, before I say this, God forbid, but if she would have that same phone conversation with me, and instead of him being with my wife, he was now, in the children's hospital because of it. And you see, now that's very important. Mm-hmm. And those things I need to address, and I need to address them the way they are. Now, of course, I always have heard this said. If everything is the same level of importance, then it technically and literally means that nothing is important. So you have to be able to categorize things where they belong. An emergency is if, she would call me and say, hey, not only is he there, but he's in a coma. See, now that's an emergency, right? And so that feeling that her calling me, letting me know that state is the state that he was in, that's an emergency. That feeling right there is the same feeling that we need to have when it comes to getting married.
Right.
I procrastinated getting married. I know I got married. I met you, and within 9 months, we were married. Mm-hmm. And within that 9 months, I had already been shown, well understood that she was my wife. This is a wife, not just a wife, my wife. Mm-hmm. And so I procrastinated, and until a certain amount events happened, which created that emergency mindset. This has to happen for you in order for your generations to be affected positively. Do you remember the movie, one of my favorites, which was called the Back to the Future. That might be on time, you see? Back to the Future, right. The second one, when he showed Marty the newspaper clip,
right.
And he said, your son's going to jail. So we have to get in the time machine and go back to this date to stop this from happening.
Right.
And so that was an emergency. Marty had to get inside the time machine to stop this tragic event from happening and affecting the rest of his destiny negatively. I promise you, you getting married is an emergency, and you have to have that mindset. And with that mindset, you have to say, now, what is it that I have to do so that I can bring about my marriage.
Right.
Treat it like it's an emergency.
Right. I agree. I totally agree. I see it a lot, and I'm just going to dig right into it, mostly with men. You see it with men.
Right.
Women, we are taught to be ready and to be prepared for marriage.
Right.
We're just taught that way. Men, you guys aren't quite taught that way.
We
sometimes.
procrastinate.
Sometimes. No, there are some exceptions.
Procrastinate.
But yeah, you procrastinate. You feel like, oh, I'm just doing me. I'm doing me and all that, and you don't understand. You don't understand what marriage is. You don't understand your purpose on this earth.
It's an emergency that you get married.
Right. You have to. One of our purpose as humans is to bring forth another generation.
Yes.
To move up the ladder.
Yes.
So if you don't get married, I mean, you can have kids without getting married,
yes.
but it's a lot harder to fulfill your purpose when you're over here and the other party is on the other side.
It is.
And we know we have a blended family. It's hard to bring the family together as a unity. So it's it is better to marry.
It is.
Yes.
And it has a more positive effect on your destiny.
Yes.
If you get married, there's a union, especially if you're getting married and you're honoring the union that you have, that positive effect, even if you do have wayward children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, it has to come to pass. That positivity that you guys created, it has to
be blessed.
It has to bequeath upon them.
Right.
It has to. There's no thing about it. So do you see, it's not just about you. It's not just about your spouse. But it's about the ladder of lineage that you have.
Right.
You getting married is an emergency.
Right.
It's a matter of fact. We discussed in this video levels of importance to two things. And, we have four in total. So we have important, somewhat important, very important, and an emergency. You getting married, not people getting married. I'm talking to you. You getting married is an emergency. It is the difference between your family being able to, never beg bread, or them having to ask and be vagabonds on this earth. It's an emergency. You can't think about yourself. Especially, I'm talking to the men in particular, because the women, you guys are phenomenal when it relates to this.
They are.
You guys are, because you're ready, and you're not like ready like, no. You're ready because you already understand. A lot of men in particular don't necessarily understand how emergent it is for you to pick one and say, I'm going to rock and roll with this one until they lower me into that hole. Period. Until death do its part of this. And notice that I didn't request you. It's definitely an emergency. We having kids is definitely an emergency. However, I can't find my Boaz. Well, if you really understand Boaz, Ruth was working in her field. She was working in her field, and as a result of working in her field, she's working in Boaz's field. But as a result of working in his field, then he ended up getting, seeing her. She was readying herself. Plus, Boaz came at the end of the story. So if you really understand the book of Ruth, you'd have to understand that she was a Moabitess. And you have to understand all of that first. And I don't have time. I want to read this question. Is it best to see if a guy wants marriage within the first conversation? Yes. Could you possibly?
Yes, because you don't want to waste your time.
I think you have to do it with tact, though. You can't be like, you gonna marry me? Are you gonna marry me? Are you gonna marry me? We talked about that. We talked about that because a dude might feel like you is the sexiest thing in the universe and be feeling like, but you're crazy. So you do have to do it with tact.
I would suggest is, like I said, before we even went on a date, we had like a month where we just talked on the phone.
Right.
And within that month, I asked him, well, what do you want out of life?
Right.
First, what do you want out of life? I just asked him a couple of questions. Oh, this is not. Now, if he didn't talk about marriage, I was like, oh, okay. So what do you want out of a relationship then? So you see, you kind of worked that out.
Thank you. We do have great chemistry, great teamwork. We study together because we want to be successful. And not just this, because if we get big, then marriage gets big.
Yes.
But if I can get especially young black men, to see that it's not a game. It's not worth procrastinating. It's an emergency.
Right.
And if I can really get you to see, this isn't just a play on words. This isn't just something that we made up to be like, oh, that's interesting. No, it's an emergency. You get married. This is serious. Then our goal will be accomplished. She said, I would be like that. I think personally that you have a smoothness, a calmness, and a demeanor. And I think society tells us, and just as well as we should, that it is an emergency that we get married. Right. The women typically are not the problem. It's typically the ignorance of the male.
Right. Because I think if a young guy takes a woman out, why are you taking them out? If you don't have no plan.
Sex.
But I'm saying, like, that's the role of attention.
I'm taking you out because I want to have sex with you.
The whole reason to date is to find a mate.
Yeah.
So that is what the dating was originally set up for. We used to call it courtship.
Right.
You're supposed to court a young lady.
Right.
But so they took something and used it in an inappropriate way.
I agree.
So you are supposed to talk about those things when you go on a date.
Yep.
What do you want? What do you want out of marriage? Because you might not be the right person for me.
You might not.
And then we could move on and just be friends. You know, like, hey, not them type of friends. Not them type of friends.
Men and women can't be friends.
Associates.
Men and women cannot be friends.
I wish you the best. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
I wish you the best.
Now, we understand that
associates, and let me move on with my life.
Women also get, hot in the pants. We understand that, Yes, it's sex. That's all that is on their mind. Yes, that's all men think about. I'm a married man. I desire other women. I just take the precautions not to do that. So we talk about that in other videos, like how the desire doesn't change, but what I refuse to let be affected is my covenant and my agreement that I have with my wife. But you getting married is an emergency. It's not something to take lightly. It's an emergency.
Right.
And without marriage, you are going to thwart your entire destiny, your entire ladder, your entire lineage. And the only person who can recover that is Jesus. So we talk about generational curses. Well, you could have broke it if you would have A, got married, and then B, stayed in the covenant.
Right.
You would have broke that easily. But because you don't see it as an emergency, you're not able to get the yoke destroyed. But there is one person who can certainly do it for you. I'm going to make my own channel about single women and find a Boaz. Okay, Dorothy, I'm going to need you to put capital B on Boaz. That's just the last time I'm going to say it, And, but yeah, I understand, and I will be watching and sharing, Bill.
Oh, yeah. If we missed any questions, we will definitely read everyone's questions afterwards.
Sometimes they don't pop up, you feel me?
Yeah, we will definitely answer them afterwards. We did not forget about you. They're going a little fast here.
Right. So what we want to talk about tonight is the fact that it is an emergency. It is an emergency that you can capitalize everything. It's an emergency that you get married and stay married. It's not something that you should take lightly. It's something that you should be putting every ounce of energy into.
And I think we need to get back to marriage is sacred. Because we've lost point of that. That's why we don't consider it emergency.
Right.
We don't think marriage is sacred anymore. That's why when people go on dates, they playing with dates. You know what I mean? Dates is, let's hook up later.
Dates
Call that
are just like
else.
the connecting link until I can get your drawers off.
Call that something else.
And I'm trying to say, call
that something else, because that's not dating.
You have been duped.
Right.
It's an emergency that you get. It's an emergency that you get married. David plays all the time. I'm telling you what I know, and what I'm telling you is an emergency. It's not a game. So because we want to put this on YouTube, we got to let you know that we are planning to get big, so we can tell the world that it's an emergency for you to get married, right? So you have to help us get big. And how you do that is by purchasing a shirt off of our website, in which we will put the website there. We use that to directly, reinvest in the business. This is not something that we're paying our rent with. We have plenty of money to pay our rent, plenty of money to pay. No, we're not doing that. We're doing it to reinvest so that we can get bigger and bigger and larger and larger and larger, so that the world will see that this will not be broken, and we are going to tell the world about it. Believe me or not, he's going to do it for us anyway, but you have to help. And so we ask that you click that link, purchase a shirt. We have some single shirts as well. We have mugs and things like that because we're going to get big regardless because we refuse to stop our work.
Right.
Evil is no match for good, but good has to be active. It's an emergency for the world to know.
And
not just getting married.
And some other
really
options.
Being loved and committed to each other. Ding, ding, Dorothea got it.
Yes.
Y'all always got it. Y'all got it.
Yeah,
but who need to know?
Not the problem.
Us. Right. I've seen people get married and divorced in the same breath. We need to know. We need to know. That's why they need us, D. So we did make our first sale today.
Yeah, we did.
Yes. And so we're going to, reinvest that into the purpose, because this isn't just a business, it's a purpose. We're going to reinvest that into the purpose. We're also going to...
What I also was going to say is that it's not the only way that you can help us. Also, by sharing our videos, loving and sharing our videos also helps get our message out.
Yes, thank you so much, Tarkisha. We appreciate you. And as far as the fast, what I do is I'm getting ready at midnight tonight. I'm going on a fast 3 days. So I'll drink water. I drink distilled water, just about 1.5 gallons a day. And I do maybe 2 tablespoons in the morning of apple cider vinegar, boom, boom, boom. And I don't like my water lemon down, so I'll take 2 shots of lemon water too, just lemon, and then just wash it down with water because I don't like my water lemon down. It's too much to be lemon down. So that's what I do. I just straight and I chase it with some water. For the next 3 days, I'll be on the fast. And I'm going on a fast because it's time for me and us to step up with this purpose. Sharon and I had a very spiritual experience on our trip, and that's why we came back letting you know that it's an emergency that you get married.
Yes.
It's not something to play with. It's an emergency.
Right.
It's an emergency.
Totally.
And so we made our first sale today, which is a double sign that it's getting ready to move. Thank you. My dad made this sweet potato pie for me, so I'm going on a fast at 12. It's 11:47. And so I'm going 3 days with water only. Water only, except for apple cider vinegar and lemonade, like I was telling Miss Tate. But no problem. We are actually getting ready to get up out of here.
Yep. Check out our website. It's constantly updating.
Yes.
I'm putting different things on there for you guys to help. So just keep tuning into the website because it's going to be new things on there. All right.
And we do love you. So until next time, it's an emergency though.